Legend of Total War here, and today we're doing another Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaign review, this time covering Grand Hierophant Katep. So Katep starts at Clarak Spire in Warhammer 3. This is a pretty similar start location to what he had in Warhammer 2. He starts in this general area, but he started off with a minor settlement, and he had to push up north in order to get a major settlement, at least in the same province. At least this time you start off with a major settlement right off the bat. And there's some new settlements that have popped up in this area, because overall the map has moved a little bit further west. Your starting enemy is the Broken Chains Greenskins. They're not a difficult enemy to deal with. It's very straightforward. There's no trick start to this. Take out this army, move to Planet Spiders, occupy, occupy, occupy. They do have another army, so you need to move quickly before it has a chance to recruit. You can out-recruit it at the start of the campaign, but you got to keep in mind that their units are better than yours, because Tomb King early game army, while they are completely free to recruit and upkeep, they are just pure trash. So if you're playing on harder difficulties, you need to move as quickly as you can to take these guys out, because if they get to a full stack and you've got a full stack, there's a good chance that they can win. So, if we have a look at Katep's initial army, he doesn't start off with particularly good units. Nehekhara warriors are okay, but they're only marginally better than skeleton warriors. And he's lost the Hyro Titan that he used to have. So one thing that you can do to sort of get your quality up in the early stage of the campaign is quickly recruit a full stack, and then do the Great Incantation of Tahoth. It's cheaper for Katep than it is for the other Legendary Lords due to his faction effect, which we'll get into in a little bit. And this unit here will allow you to deal with mass numbers of infantry without too much trouble. That's the best unit you're going to get for quite some time, so it's highly recommended that you get it. Because one of the problems with the Tomb Kings, right, is that they have low quality units, but they rely on multiple armies to sort of just, instead of relying on quality, you rely on quantity. But you have to wait quite a long time before you can get that first army. So that's a bit of an issue. And you don't really want to be sitting around with your first enemy waiting around for 15 turns. Now, there is a way to bypass that. You can actually bypass the army limit by just by loading saved lords. But that's definitely an exploit, so it's up to you if you want to do that. So there's actually no limit to how many armies you can have with the Tomb Kings, even from the beginning, really. But again, that is most definitely an exploit. Up to you if you want to make use of it. Now, once you've taken out the Broken Chains Greenskins, you are surrounded by a lot of powerful potential enemies. So while each one of them has a chance to declare war on you, you can mitigate that by actually doing some diplomacy. So Grombrindle and the Sisters of Twilight are the two most likely to be receptive to friendship with them. Join war against their enemies. Hopefully the enemies aren't going to come at you, but typically speaking, having friends with them is better than just ignoring them and then having them declare war on you, because both of them are going to be very powerful enemies, especially the Sisters of Twilight. You're just not going to be able to handle the Sisters in the early stages of the campaign, so best be friends with them. Now, Malekith is someone you're less likely to be able to negotiate with, but he's going to be a little bit busy himself. He's going to be less of a threat than he was in Warhammer 2. So overall, I would say that Katep's campaign is easier in Warhammer 3, but that is typically speaking how it goes with across all the board, because Warhammer 3 is just easier than it was in Warhammer 2. The enemies do not throw as much at you, and you have, in some cases, more tools to work with, and in some other cases, less, but we'll deal with each case. The Tomb Kings are definitely stronger than they were before, because their economy's been boosted, their buildings aren't as expensive, they can recruit faster, but they're still limited to the same degree with research. At least now you've got an exploit to bypass the army limit. Now, let's talk about Katep and what he brings to the field. So looking at his trait here, he provides character experience plus 25% for heroes in his army and campaign movement range. Yep, that's okay. Looking at all of his unique skills, he's got a few hidden around over here. This one is not unique. Reanimator gives leadership for basic units. Sandstorm. So he's got like this spell over here, Sekhmet's Incantation of the Skullstorm. It's just called Sandstorm here. He's got a certain amount of bound spells of that. That spell is very random. You get an initial amount of damage in from wherever you cast, and then just moves off in a random direction. It lasts quite a long time. So sometimes this spell can do a lot of damage for you. Sometimes it can backfire and just hit your own line. So you've got to be very careful with that kind of spell. Casting it away from your army is typically speaking a good idea, but you really roll the dice with that one. But it doesn't cost Winds of Magic, so it's better than nothing. Steed Reanimation, leadership and melee attack for basic horse units. Then you've got Tomb Protector, unit capacity +2 for Tomb Guard, casualty replenishment rate for his army. Lich Lord, hero capacity +2 for Lich Priest, hero recruit rank +2 for Lich Priest. So increasing Lich Priest capacity is not as valuable as it was in Warhammer 2, due to every Lord actually being able to infinitely keep increasing the number of heroes that they have now through the Mortuary Cult, which is such a good improvement, but it's still better than nothing. Grand Hierophant here. Winds of Magic power reserve change plus 20% when increasing. Typically speaking, I don't value that stat very much at all because it only affects when you're actually generating Winds of Magic, and a lot of the time you'll either be at 100 or you're not generating Winds of Magic just because of the area. So it's just an effect that's just not very impactful. It usually only accounts for like 1 or 2 extra Winds of Magic per turn. And hero action success chance plus 5% for Lich Priests, all characters, which that's okay. But this is a skill that I would personally get last, essentially. It's just not that important. He's got a unique mount, the Casket of Souls. Only he can get that. Arcane Knowledge. This one here is just weird, right? Winds of Magic power reserve minus 5%. That is so not impactful that even if you were in an area that has tempestuous Winds of Magic, it wouldn't drop down the Winds of Magic gain per turn by even 1 point. So it's just silly. Yeah. And then you've got spell resistance plus 15%. It's just a silly to even write that in there. And then you've got Mortuary Cult Scholar. Canopic Jars generated 1 per turn. Unlocks Hero Recruitment Lich Priest all provinces, which is completely redundant because Lich Priests are unlocked all provinces for all the Legendary Lords for Tomb Kings anyway. So that's just a completely redundant ability. It just doesn't do anything. It's weird. Hero Capacity plus 1 for Lich Priest. You know, that's good. Witness to the Golden Age, extra research rate, which for the Tomb Kings is very valuable. Construction cost minus 10% for all buildings, local provinces, alright? And this one here is the main one for building up his army. Getting recruit rank and physical resistance for basic skeleton units and Tomb Guard is fairly useful. So it sort of gives you an idea of his sort of preferred army, physical resistance for Tomb Guard. So it depends on you and what army you want to build for him. And then for his unique item, he's got the Lich Staff, which I'm not a super fan of. It's just sort of not that great. Reducing corruption is not that big of a deal for Tomb Kings. Magic item drop chance is definitely good for sure. And the other ones are it's just sort of low impact stuff, apart from the magic item drop chance. Okay, and then talking about his faction trait here, the Lich Lord of Khemri. Hero capacity plus 2 for Lich Priest, not super impactful, but still better than nothing. Right cost minus 25%, so that's why it's cheaper to do these rites than it is with the other lords. But the biggest impact for Ketep is Mortuary Cult crafting cost minus 25%. This is his biggest edge over the other legendary lords because it not only reduces the gold cost for these items and unlockables, but it also reduces the Canopic Jar cost because you can only ever have a maximum of 10,000 Canopic Jars. After you get that, you can't gain any more, which means that for a new dynasty, since it increases in cost every time you do it, Ketep has the most number of potential uses of a new dynasty than any other legendary lord, which means that out of all the Tomb King legendary lords, including Arkan the Black, who starts off with an additional army capacity just by default, Ketep has the highest number of potential armies by 25% over the other Tomb King legendary lords because it will take more uses of a new dynasty to be awakened before he hits over to the 10,000 mark by about 25%. So yeah, he can have roughly 25% more armies than the other Tomb King lords, at least via this method here. So that's his big edge over the others. I think that'll equate for maybe 3 or 4 extra armies, but I'd have to actually play through an extremely long campaign to figure out exactly how many that is, or just do the maths on it, which I can't be bothered. But whatever the case is, it's obvious that he will get more armies than everyone else if you make use of it. Anyway, that's the end of this one here, guys. Overall, I would say that Ketep's campaign is better than it was in Warhammer 2. I think overall the Tomb Kings are more enjoyable than they were in Warhammer 2, and I really like the Tomb Kings in Warhammer 2. I think he's got a reasonably challenging campaign. You have to really stay on top of diplomacy, but I don't think it is the most fun out of the Tomb Kings area, Tomb Kings Legendary Lords, just because he starts so far away from Nehekara, and that's where all the great landmarks are, and a lot of their benefits are in Nehekara, so it's a long way to get back there. But overall, it's an okay campaign, not one of my favorites, at least for the Tomb Kings, but yeah, his biggest edge is the Mortuary Cult crafting cost, which is pretty good. Anyway, it's the end of this one. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Later, guys.